But let's bring it out to Tom Boyd and Sarah Innerarity and find out about the history of the games. Tommy, I've got stacks and stacks of clothing and shoes and hats from all the different mountain games, back when it was Teva, back now when it's GoPro. I'm sure you have probably all of these items in your closet still. But let's talk about the history of this wonderful, wonderful event that celebrates athletes, art, mountains, and music.
Yeah, I do have all that stuff, Trisha. You're right. Boy, it feels like yesterday, probably to you and me. And now I'm the guy being interviewed about the old days somehow. But yeah, it all started out. We thought it was such a cool idea. I mean, I used to compete against my dad in the Jeep Whitewater Festival, which is really kind of came out of years and years of doing international kayaking. Because if you were a kayaker in the 1990s, you came through Colorado and you came through Vail and the Eagle River and Gore Creek in the 70s and 80s, because it's some of the best whitewater in the world, especially this time of year. It just kind of turned into an international kayaking event. And at some point, people thought, hey, we do climbing events, we do mountain biking events. What if we put it all together into one giant, big, awesome event and call it the Mountain Games? And that's what happened in 2002. You had the Teva Mountain Games in the inaugural year 20 years ago. Somehow that was all 20 years ago. And we did it with, Ian Anderson was a big part of that. Joel Heath was a big part of that. Joe Blair was a big part of that. And your own Ken Hovey was a big part of that too. Helping everyone just came together. It was very grassroots. I was a competitor and a journalist at the time. And I just thought, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. There were 250 competitors. Now we're up to about 3,000 or 4,000. And it was just kind of this new thing. We had a blast.
And Tom, I love what you said. We were chatting earlier how growing up here, competing with your dad, you thought having competitions in your backyard was what everyone had.
Yeah, I just thought, didn't everyone grow up with an international kayaking festival in their backyard every spring? I didn't realize how special, like a lot of parents will recognize if they're raising young ones in this valley or anywhere special right now. We just kind of thought that was how things were done. Of course, I went off to college and many other things, became a journalist, came back and thought, hey, this is one of the coolest towns in the world, and this is one of the coolest events in the world. Apparently, I'm not the only one who thinks that, and that's why we have 80,000 spectators now coming up to Vail for what is now a 6-day long event. And we're celebrating 20 years of the GoPro Mountain Games all weekend long here, and it is so fun. You're seeing a lot of the old faces around. A lot of the crew is hanging around. I spent a lot of time with Ken Hovey, one of your hosts, by the Steep Creek on Wednesday, just going back through so many great memories. Really, he was a driver of that original Steep Creek race. Ken, this is crazy, man. Have you seen that water? Have you looked down into the belly of that beast? And he goes, oh, we can do it. We can do it. And certainly, he and a handful of other kayakers are good enough to run that race. That helped put us on the map. And so did a couple other things. IFC World Cup Climbing came here in 2008. That was its first year. Now this year we have this incredible climbing competition going on behind us. That is going to take place on Saturday. But what we added in, and this is from the very beginning, it's pros and Joes. So yeah, you have the best climbers in the world, but then you have kids and citizens climbing as well. You can get up there on that same wall and be part of the competition with them. You have mountain bikers, best in the world, coming here to do the mountain bike race. And you know what? I saw so many locals that were out at the GoPro dual slalom competing. My neighbor did great. He got like 8th place. And so you get to be part of the action with the the world's best at all these different sports. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. One of the many things that sets the GoPro Mountain Games apart is the ability for someone to walk up, register. Kids can compete on the same stage, the same wall, the same river as the people they look up to. Tell us a little bit about, obviously, so many changes over the 20 years, but how the games have evolved, things that have been added, new events.
Well, certainly when the Vail Valley Foundation took over the event, that's the organization I work for now. It's a nonprofit here in town. A lot of people forget that. You go ask, hey, who does the GoPro Mountain Games? People will say GoPro. They might say Vail Mountain or Vail Resorts, but it's actually a nonprofit Vail Valley Foundation. We do a lot in this community. We took the event over in 2008. That did a couple of things. Number one, we have a big crew that does big events. We do the World Cup ski racing, as you know. in December. We run the Youth Power 365 education component of our organization. Super important. And by the way, we're doing a hike for them on Sunday. Sign up, help us raise money for Youth Power 365. We do a lot of other things in town. We were able to bring kind of our international sporting expertise, our big operations team, and keep the event here, right? Because our charter is to work here in Eagle County. So that helped really ensconce the roots of this event where it belongs, right here in Vail and in the Vail Valley. And so that helped really grow the event. Concerts. Oh my gosh, the concerts over at Gerald R. Ford Amphitheater, just outside Vail Village. That's a facility that our organization runs. So we're able to host the concerts over there. The most one, and Trish will remember this, the Jurassic 5 concert there in 2005 blew the doors off. And all of a sudden you realize art, athletes, music, mountain. Well, a big part of that art component is the amazing concerts, right? So that's something I think has really grown and changed over the years, is that we took that amazing Jurassic 5 concert and said, hey, we can do 3 concerts. We can do them at the Ford Amphitheater, and you can come be part of that. So that's a big component of it. And just, this year we've got some new events. We're celebrating 20 years with the 20K,
Yep.
right? So that's basically a half marathon. That's a new event. We are doing 6 days instead of 4. We just did some amazing GoPro dual slalom over at the Minturn Bike Park. We moved kayaking to Wednesday. We're basically just taking a moment to tip our hat and shout out to all the OGs, the original gamers that helped make this event happen. Like I said, Joe Blair, Joel Heath, Ian Anderson, everybody who was a part of this from the very beginning, who has helped grow it into what it is today.
Well, Tom, congratulations on 20 amazing years. Everything has been spectacular, and it's just Friday. We keep saying, oh, it's been so fun the last few days, and we're just getting started with the weekend.
We're just getting started, and I think it's going to be the biggest and best yet. It has been so far. And you know what? The spread out, so you can come in. There's going to be a lot of people here, but we're all the way from Lion's Head to the Hangout at Gold Peak, which is going to be awesome. Have some music over there, and it won't feel too tight and crowded. It should be just right.
Perfect. Well, thank you for taking time. I know how busy you are this weekend. One more question before we go. What are you most excited about throughout the weekend?
Oh my gosh. Well, I usually say Steep Creek, but that's already happened. So I think what I'm going to say is I'm really excited for the climbing event on Saturday. That's right at the peak of everything going on. We've got some of the best climbers in the world who just came from a World Cup in Utah, and now they're going to be here. A lot of the best U.S. climbers, and that's now an Olympic sport, and that's happening right here behind us in Mountain Plaza. I think I'm going to have to go with that, but it's a tight one between that and the 8 Ball that happens on Sunday, which is another crazy event that Paul St. Ruth and your own Ken Hovey came up with years ago, that where you have basically bumper boats in the river. It's one of those ideas you think when you hear it, no way, that's crazy. And then now it's one of the staples of the event, and that's how we close out the weekend on Sunday.
Awesome. Well, Tom, always good to see you. Thanks so much for chatting with us, and make sure to check out the website for the full schedule. So much happening all weekend.
You bet. Thanks
All
a
right.
lot.
Hey, Tommy, I got to ask you something really quick. Are Joe, Joel, or Ian going to be here for the 20th anniversary? Do you know?
Joe Blair's coming, and his son's competing in the downriver kayak, which is really cool. It's amazing, Trisha, how many of our next generation are now competing in the mountain games, including Ken Hovey and his very, very talented kids. And mine, I'm trying to convince to do Pepe's Face Off. My 10-year-old thinks he can do it on Sunday.
Wow.
So, but Joe Blair will be around. Ian Anderson's going to do a flyby. Joel Heath, unfortunately, won't be here. But I really want him to be here and wear that powder blue suit. If you remember when he biked up Vail Pass wearing a full powder blue tuxedo on a cruiser bike
Oh my gosh.
in the
Yes.
time trial road bike race.
I do remember that. Oh my gosh, so many great memories, so many fun things to look back on. And, and all the great sponsors we've had. I mean, just the clothing alone, we've had Columbia here, we've had Eddie Bauer First Ascent, we've had Rossignol. Remember when they were going into summer clothing? And then, of course, the recession happened and that didn't happen anymore. But just really cool to see all the great sponsors that you guys have had throughout the years. So, all right, I got the swag to prove it. not. It has gone up. I've got the shoes to prove it too. I got all my flip flops. My favorite were when they invented the wedge for the Teva sandal. I said I don't wear flats, so they said Trisha will make you the wedge. Okay, Tommy, I know you're busy and we've got a busy show, so we have to go. Thank you so much for your time today and the history lesson. It's a great success story. Thanks, you guys.